UW360 is proudly supported by BECU, a not-for-profit member-owned credit union. Pacific Office Automation, copy, print, workflow, and IT. Problem solved.
Go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery.
As the era of the space shuttle draws to a close,
Discovery now making one last reach for the stars.
It's a bittersweet moment for scores of University of Washington graduates. They worked as engineers, technicians, researchers, and astronauts on an engineering marvel, the first spaceship to look like an airplane and able to carry both passengers and cargo into space, then return them to Earth. And although the space shuttles will no longer fly, there is a dynamic duo of university grads determined the shuttles will continue to spark flights of imagination. The alums are Doug King, president of Seattle's Museum of Flight, and Bonnie Dunbar, former museum president, current executive director of Wings Over Washington, and one of 12 university alums to have held the job title of astronaut. It's a job Bonnie never regrets.
I would have paid to do this. Never bored. Never bored with the flights, never bored with the training, never bored with preparation or anything, and never blasé. Each flight was different. It's work. An astronaut has to have a technical degree. I elected to become an engineer. Those are the tools that allowed me to do this. You need those tools.
And it is that passion for the tools of exploration that make Doug and Bonnie a formidable team. First, they're working to bring more space exploration artifacts to the museum. The Space Gallery will house a full-fuselage shuttle trainer for visitors to explore. And by showing the ingenuity behind those artifacts, they hope to inspire the next generation of engineers, scientists, and explorers.
That's the whole point of artifacts, really. There's something about the real things. I mean, these planes around me here aren't models. These are the real planes. They flew. They're the pioneers of aviation. Those things need to be here so that when people look back, they can see how was it really. That's the purpose of a museum.
Tell them to hurry up!
But we can also use them to inspire the people that will create the story of the second 100 years of flight.
No pressure! No pressure. Is the oxygen...
And I think for the youth today, they need to understand they too can be these agents of change and innovation.
If anyone understands how interest in space exploration leads to great things, it's Bonnie Dunbar. Raised on a hard-scrabble cattle farm in Sunnyside, she devoured science fiction books and saw life as an adventure.
And I thought, this is the life. I want to go over the next hill. I want to learn. I want to understand the universe around me.
Inspired by the Apollo missions, she eventually earned 2 masters and a PhD. At the University of Washington, Bonnie worked on early development of the ceramic heat-resistant tiles used on the shuttles. Some 20 years later, she blasted into space.
I didn't have an opportunity to really reflect on the mission and what we'd just all been through till after I got back down on the ground. And I remember watching the film of the launch and thinking, boy, I was on that. It was my first flight. I think I might have been the only rookie. And I'm just thinking to myself, please don't let me screw this up.
Bonnie flew 5 shuttle missions, her last with a fellow UW grad, Michael Anderson, an astronaut who perished in a subsequent mission during Columbia's breakup upon re-entry. It was a risk all shuttle astronauts understood.
So you have to look at, first of all, the shuttle in itself is an engineering research experiment. We pushed the boundaries on engine development, materials development, even the use of computers. It was the first fly-by-wire. In other words, no cables going to the ailerons. It was all computer signals. We pushed all that technology.
It is ironically the loss of another shuttle and crew that ultimately brought Doug King to the Museum of Flight. He was instrumental in building Challenger Centers for Space Science Education, an idea born from the tragedy of the Challenger explosion. The families of the Challenger crew, led by June Scobie, continued the flight's educational agenda by creating over 50 sites where students emulate space missions.
We opened the one here at the Museum of Flight in 1993. It was among the first 10 or so. 25 years later, on the 25th anniversary of the Challenger accident, June stood at Kennedy Space Center and said, the flight failed, but the mission's been a success.
Doug and Bonnie want the museum to continue that mission by building one of the strongest aerospace education programs in the country. They want today's young students to join the long line of university alums and many others who taught us what it means to push boundaries, face failures, and find adventures.
We want to make sure that the young kids coming through understand what it takes in terms of science, technology, engineering, and math to go do this.
We live right in the time when humans first left the Earth. Who can imagine what will be 1,000 years from now, even 100 years from now? But those kids that are in school today are the ones that will write the next step in that journey.
And that will be the generation that'll help us go to other worlds.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff.